not just designed to handle steep hills,
Gusto
it is
niya to
also
eh. Choice niya
designed
to.
to handle glacial travel without damaging the glacier. Because of their big tyres and they are very soft. Actually only inflated to 13 psi, which is less than half of what you will have in your car back home.
Inong yan.
Alas mo na yan.
Gusto ko pumikit.
Hoy!
Ready?
Ready?
Go!
Hoy!
Oh my god. So, yeah. Not as scary as it looks, is it?
So easy, eh?
Not scary.
Not too scary. Not too much.
The funny thing is, I am flat to the floor right now. I can't go any faster. Unless, of course, I put it in neutral.
That's okay.
Don't do that.
Don't do that?
No.
Unless you want to.
What about closer to the bottom?
Okay.
Sure, whatever you
That'd
want.
be fine. But watch out for the big guy. He might tip us forward.
Well, what we're coming down here is the lateral moraine. Lateral means side and moraine is a fancy word for ridge or pile of rock that's caused by the glacier's movement. Now it was caused as the glacier last advanced 400 years ago. Now on it, yeah, that's when it was the last mini ice age. Now it took 230 years for it to get all the way to the terminal moraine. And since then it has been receding. And
Hindi naman nakakatakot.
Yes.
oh my god.
Wala. Wala.
Ready?
Ready.
There we go. First time I've done that in a while.
We're a smaller group. We get specials.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, on its journey all the way down the valley, it pushed all these rocks up to the side, pretty much squishing them against the mountains next to us. So this does actually mark the highest point or the thickest point of the Athabasca Glacier. So you can really tell how much the glacier has just receded back and melted down as well. Has lost about 300 metres from its thickness and almost 2 kilometres from its length. Now, does anyone think we're on the glacier already? Oh, we actually are, guys. We're on what's called the Ice Core Moraine. Now you'll notice all the way down this glacier and on the other side there is rocks covering the side of the glacier about 75 to 100 metres onto the glacier. Now what's happened as it has receded, the lateral moraine has actually collapsed on the side of the glacier and is blanketing it and insulating it so it doesn't melt quite as fast as what's out in the centre. Because out in the centre is all exposed to the elements like the sun, the rain and the wind. So it melts a bit quicker. Look to the right there, that's a pretty cool little carving. I say carving because all the water has pretty much carved away at the ice. Now, all the way at the head of the valley up the end there, you will see there's a big wall of ice connecting the two mountains. Now beyond that point is the Columbia ice field itself. Now it is a massive body of ice and snow. Now it's about 325 square kilometres in area, so that's big enough to actually fit the entire city of Vancouver on the ice field. Now It's also surrounded by 11 of the 22 tallest mountain peaks in the Rockies. And that's a good reason as to why the ice can sustain itself here, because these mountains hold the ice up at an elevation of about 3,000 metres above sea level. And now, as the air from the Pacific Ocean comes over with the moisture that it's absorbed from the ocean, these mountains force the air to rise over the ice field. And as the air rises, it cools down and releases all of its moisture in the form of snow. And that's actually how glacial ice is formed, is by the accumulation and compression of snow. So it'll take 12 metres or 35 feet of snow to create 1 foot of glacial ice. So the weight of that 12 metres pushing down forces the snow to turn into ice, and as these crystals get bigger and bigger, they actually start to squish against each other as they're forming. And in that process, it pushes any little air bubbles out that may be in between each ice crystal. And for that reason, that is why glacial ice is blue, because it's very, very dense and doesn't have any air bubbles in it. So you can see on the surface of the glacier today, it does have that blue colour to it. Now it usually doesn't, but because of a couple of weeks ago we did have snow covering it, has cleared some dirt off the surface and kind of pushed it back down and compressed it a bit more, so it's nice and smooth and doesn't have any air bubbles. Everybody wave. Now, does anyone know the difference between an ice field and a glacier? Well,
We have no idea.
no idea.
Yeah.
Ice fields don't really move anywhere. They do expand and contract as they melt and grow, but they don't really flow anywhere. They do feed surrounding glaciers though. Now as soon as an ice field gets bigger than 50,000 square kilometres, it's actually considered an ice cap. And I'm not sure of the next measurement, but as soon as that ice cap gets bigger than, I think it might be 150,000 square kilometres, it actually becomes an ice sheet, which is what Antarctica is, and Antarctica is the biggest ice sheet in the world. And in some places it's 4.5 kilometres thick. Now, a glacier is a perennial piece of ice that flows downhill, and it has to be over 100 square metres. Now, the Athabasca one we're on at the moment has no problem with that, as it is about 5.5 square kilometres in area. So it's 5.5 kilometres long, 1 kilometre wide, and up at the turnaround point, about 200 metres thick. Now I have slowed here for a reason. If you have a look out to our left there, just on the glacier, you'll see there's a bit of a drop in an ice wall.
Yeah.
That's what we call a mill well. Now that's just a big hole in the ice where the top layer of ice has actually stretched apart and created a hole. And that's because the glacier has started going downhill again at that point back there. So that's generally where mill wells and crevasses open up. While we're all looking that way again, if you have a look up in between the Athabasca on the left and the Andromeda on the right, there's another little glacier up there in between those two mountains, what we call the AA Glacier, but that is a hanging valley glacier. And it is literally hanging up there by the friction of the rock under the ice. And in 1843, when the Athabasca was right up to the top of that rock line there, that glacier stretched from where it is now to the left and joined on with the Athabasca. Now, on the Andromeda Mountain, that's another little glacier known as a cirque glacier, from the French-derived word for circle, and that's because it has actually kind of this massive circle or bowl-like formation in the top of that mountain. Now those two glaciers up there are a little bit different to the Athabasca, not just because of their size and type, but because of their independence. They're not connected to the ice field at all, so they do rely solely on the snow and ice accumulation over winter to help them grow. Whereas the Athabasca does get a bit of ice during winter, but mainly relies on the ice field to overflow into this valley, feeding it its glacial ice. Now we have reached our destination of the turnaround. I do have a couple of safety guidelines for you to stick by. Now, try to stay within the boundaries of the turnaround, because just up out of here is pretty dangerous because of the snow that we had a couple of weeks ago. Has covered any holes or streams that may have been there. So it can be pretty dangerous.